What's up YouTube? Today we're bringing you guys a DDD deck profile.
Don't lose your way, your mind free how to be as one.
DDDs are actually a deck I've been wanting to, pick up for a while now. But I actually picked up a deck a few weekends ago when it went to locals. The deck is really fun. It's really combo oriented. However, it is missing a lot of key OCG cards. However, and we are waiting for the Pendulum Domination Structure deck. However, I will have a link down below in the description box so you guys can see my new updated build with all the OCG support. So first off, but for the TCG, we have to deal with what we have. So first off, we have, of course, the 3 copies of DD Savant Kepler. Kepler is basically like he's your searcher. So whenever he's normal or special summon, he has 2 effects. He can target a DD card and return it to your hand. No one really ever uses that effect. The other effect of Kepler, the main one you care about, is that you can actually add 1 Dark Contract from your deck to your hand. This basically searches your Black Whirlwind, your fusions, and the Dark Contracts are what break this deck and make it just so much fun. Then we have the 1 copy of Galilei. Galilei is an okay card, in the TCG version of the deck. You can send it from your hand to the graveyard to add a DD or Dark Contract and return it to the hand from the field. It's okay. It's mainly just a scale, but once, I'm debating even playing it at all, but mostly it's just filler for whenever we get the other stuff. Now here's where it gets a little bit much better. So then we have 3 copies of DD Oblivion King Abyss Ragnarok. Ragnarok's got 2 really good effects that got 2 not just in the Pendulum Zone but on the field. So in the Pendulum Zone, he's actually a wolf bark sort of. Whenever you special summon a DD monster, your opponent damage they take this turn is half, but you can special summon a DD monster from your graveyard and you take 1,000 damage. Now the damage isn't that big of a deal when you have cards like Leonidas and cards like D-Arc that prevent you from taking damage or reverse damage. And the other thing, when it's on the field, when it hits the field, it can special summon a DD monster from your graveyard. So and then it can also tribute off a DD monster you control to banish a card a monster your opponent controls. It's really important because this card gets your Keplers off the field so you don't take a lot of damage. And this card is pretty integral to like 99% of your combos, especially without, most of the OCG support. Then we have 2 copies of DDD Rebel King Leonidas. Leonidas is, for some reason, expensive. I think because in the OCG version of the deck, of the structure deck, he's not in the structure deck. But with all the support, I only play 1. But anyway, whenever you take damage while this card's in the Pendulum Zone, it can destroy itself to reverse burn damage. But yeah, the main thing you care about is when it's in the hand, when you take burn damage, you can special summon this card, and it reverses burn damage. While it's on the field, the other thing is you take no effect damage. I kind of always like Leonidas because it gives you get a free card for those situations where you happen to unfortunately not have D-Arc out and you have to take that damage. And of course, you have the slime. So you have 3 copies of Swirl Slime. Swirl Slime is when this card was first revealed, I was like meh, but the card actually is really, really important. It opens up a lot of your combos and it allows you to overextend and make just really good boards. And then we have the 3 Necro Slime. Necro Slimes is a Miracle Fusion. It does similar to Swirl Slime. Swirl Slime fusions from the hand and can special summon by banishing itself. Necro Slime is basically when it's in the graveyard, it can banish itself and another DD monster in your graveyard to fusion summons. That's really, really important. And then we have the 1 Baphomet because we don't have a lot of DDD monsters, and this kind of fills it out. It also allows us to go into the rank 4 for DDDs. And now for where the outside archetype support, the 2 Armageddonites. These are literally here to replace Copernicus. Whenever this card is summoned, it sends a dark monster to the graveyard. Basically does the same thing Copernicus does to an extent, and it's just here for this filler to kind of fill out what we're missing. Then for the more interesting tech, we actually have 2 copies of Yugioh. When I built this deck, I was debating what level 4s I wanted to play, and I needed another level 4 Fiend so I could make the DDD rank 4. And this was the best one. Not only is it a level 4 Fiend, which means you can use it with Baphomet to make the Wave King rank 4. The other thing is it does heal you whenever it special summons itself. It's a really interesting card, and it was one of the better techs I found. Then the last 2 monsters, you have 2 copies of Jet Synchron. This card sort of replaces what Lamia. It's a level 1 tuner that can special summon itself from the graveyard by sending a card from your hand to the graveyard. It gets dead slimes in your hand and allows you to synchro summon. Pretty much self-explanatory. For the spells, we have 2 copies of Lure of Darkness. Lure is really amazing in this deck. You have all these, you do have play a lot of 3-ofs, and it gets those dead extra slimes out of your hand, and it allows you to draw in for a lot of your combo pieces. Then we have 2 copies of Transmodify. If you haven't already picked these up already, they're going to go up in price because of the ABC deck, the top in the OCG. But without all the OCG support, this card kind of fills it out. It's one of the best plays this deck has. You can transmodify your Oracle King into a Ragnarok and then loop the Oracle King right back. So it's one of the better combos the deck has currently. Then we have 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. DDDs are a combo deck, so you really can't afford to pitch a lot of pieces. And you already have cards like Jet Synchron that do cost you cards in your hand. So I feel like MST is just better. Then the 1 copy of Burial from Different Dimension. Burial is really good because it's really easy to set up, and recycling banished resources is really important in this deck. The 1 Foolish Burial because this deck is heavily graveyard centric, and then the 1 for 1 allows you to summon your Kepler in defense mode, which is always awesome. Now for some of the Dark Contracts, we have 3 copies of Dark Contract with the Gates. Gates is basically your Black Whirlwind. Whenever it's on the field during your main phase, you can activate it to add a DD card monster from your deck to your hand. And like all the contracts, you take 1,000 damage during every standby phase. Then I have 2 copies of Swamp King. I know a lot of builds only play 1, but I've always liked having the second one just for consistency reasons. And it's basically like a Miracle Fusion and Poly while it's on the field. You can fusion using either by banishing materials in your grave or by using them on the field or in the hand. This allows you to get your Keplers out of, obviously, there's a lot of theme. You want to get your Kepler off the field and put it in your extra deck so you don't take a lot of damage by leaving it in attack mode. For the traps, I don't run too many. We have 1 copy of Human Resources. This is kind of like a filler card, basically. Like it allows me to search out my Leonidas's and stuff like that if I'm about to take a bunch of damage. It just basically cycles back, sort of like a pot of Adderers for the deck, if you will. Then we have 1 copy of Dark Contract with Errors. Errors is basically like an every turn trap stone. When you control a DD monster, you can activate the effect to turn off all of the trap cards on the field. So basically, theory behind main decking just one of this is that there's some decks where game 1 you can search this out and basically just completely blow them out. You can always side deck the extra copies, but I feel like it's really good. And then last 2 traps, 2 copies of Dark Contract with a Witch. This is another reason why I don't run Twin Twisters, because you can use this for basically the same purpose. The first effect is it allows you to pitch a DD or Dark Contract from your hand to the graveyard to pop a card in the field. Then on your opponent's turn, all your Fiend type monsters gain 1,000 attack. So the interesting thing about that is if you have one of your, say you have one of your fusions out like Oracle King and they try to attack over it with a Dark Destroyer, you can flip this over and Dark Destroyer will bite the dust. So, like all the other Dark Contracts, you take 1,000 damage. So now we're going to go ahead and get the extra deck. We have 3 copies of Oracle King D-Arc. D-Arc is one of your most important combo pieces. Basically, it reverses all burn damage. It's also a level 7, which opens up, obviously the Transmodify plays and the rank 7 plays. And then next, for the only other fusion we currently have in the TCG, 2 copies of Wave Oblivion King Kaiser Ragnarok. It's a pretty long name, but anyway, Kaiser Ragnarok is is an amazing card. So if you don't know what it does, the main effect is when it actually is attack is declared involving this monster, you can actually return one DD or Dark Contract card you control to the hand, and then target 1 monster other than the monster this card is battling. Take it and equip it to this. So basically, say your opponent has, it does not target, say your opponent has like a Dark Destroyer and Wicked Witch out, and you attack you summon this, attack into their Wicked Witch, you can steal their Dark Destroyer and equip it to this, and this will be at 6,200 because it also gains attack equal to the monster you stole. It's basically like a Fright for Bear on crack. Then we have the 2 Exceed monsters, the Wave King Kaiser and Tell. The reason I run these cards is they're really good fusion fodder, because say you have Tell sitting on the field and you fusion with it with a Swamp King, this one actually searches a Dark Contract when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, and this one allows you to send a DD monster or Dark Contract to your graveyard. Wave King's also not bad because you can actually swing in and special summon, and if your monsters bite the dust during the battle phase, you can actually bring them all back. Then, of course, for the last DD monster, we have the 1 DDD Duo Dawn King Kali Yuga. This card is absolutely crazy. So when it hits the field, when it's Exceed Summon, The rest of the turn, other cards and effects can't be activated other than this card. It turns off basically everything when it hits the field and the set. And it's also, not only is it a walking heavy storm, but it can also recycle your Tart contracts. It's an incredible card. Then for some of the generic stuff, to the rank 7s, we have one Flare Metal and one Big Eye. These are kind of just fillers in the extra deck. Like, I really didn't have a lot of thoughts to play these. These are basically just here. Big Eye's not a terrible card, and Flare Metal obviously just wins games on its own. Then for the other generic rank 8s, we have the one Titanic Galaxy and the one Divine Dragonite Felgrand. These are some of the best generics you can be running right now, and this card is really obviously going to become more important because it helps to create the broken boards this deck creates. For the Synchros, we have the one Cyframe Lord Omega. Omega's really amazing in this deck because you can replace and cycle all your slimes, and it's just an amazing good generic, especially in a deck where you banish a lot. The one Stardust Dragon. Stardust is really good in this deck because it can lose to board wipes. That's where this comes in. And then the one Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend for, just popping annoying stuff and clearing off before I make an OTK. So, about comes the end of the deck profile. Guys, let me know down in the comment section down below what you guys think of this deck profile, and let me know what you guys think of this new format I've been using. If you like it, I'll make sure to keep it for future deck profiles. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you guys for watching. This is Storm, signing out.